You're listening to Go with Jamarlin Martin. We have a go hard or go home approach as we talk to the leading tech leaders, politicians, and influencers. Let's go. Today, we have Alvin Blanco on the show, the founder and managing editor of Hip Hop Wired. Welcome to the show.
Peace. Thank you for having me, Jam.
Let's dive right in on where you believe hip hop journalism is compared to when we were growing up in terms of, I remember back in LA, I would pick up a Source magazine and I see really good kind of political stuff, conscious stuff. They had a certain angle. Right. David Mays and Benzino and the editors, they had it really cracking to me. And I remember XXL as well. I would see Dr. Khalid Muhammad on the pages with a red, black, and green flag and a gun, and they would be covering a lot of stuff. Right. The mainstream is not going to cover. How would you compare the state of hip hop journalism today as opposed to, let's say, the 90s?
I gotta admit, the state of hip hop journalism today, it's more watered down.
It's better. You believe it's better? It was better in the 90s.
I think it was just more concentrated in the 90s because you got to think, like, in the 90s, there weren't as many outlets. If you wanted to know what was going on in the hip hop game, you had a few outlets to go to. You either had The Source or you said XXL, Vibe magazine. Yeah. Of course, there were other magazines like 4,000, like smaller mags like the 4080 or Rap Pages. But I say those three I mentioned were the top ones. And if you read those every month, you were kind of in tune with what was going on in the culture. Yeah. But then, as times change, the internet rises up. Now we got social media. You really don't need a magazine. By the time you get a magazine, that's old news versus what you see on your timeline.
Let me be more specific. So you had Source, Vibe, XXL back in the day, and then now you have Complex. How does that stuff kind of compare? Let's say based on like website traffic, you'll say Complex is the leading publication, but when you compare Complex Media to the strong editorial in the 90s, how do you see things shaking out?
I mean, you got when you look at Complex, right? That's one example. They'll cover music, they'll cover fashion, they'll cover politics a little bit, they'll cover sneakers. It's just so much. Versus in the 90s, you take one Source issue, right? You literally had to distill everything. It was almost like a natural gatekeeping process. It was like, okay, what's the most important stuff that we could fit in this monthly issue? Work on for a month and put it out. And that way, it's kind of like you got the most important stuff versus on a website daily, you're kind of throwing everything up there. Yeah. And naturally, only certain things will stick or actually last more than, say, a 24-hour news cycle. So it's just so, the movement of the news is just so fast.
I guess from a culture perspective, what I'm thinking is, hey, hip hop has been degraded. It's been watered down, mumble rappers and people just talking about bullshit more so than the 90s.
Right. But there was bullshit in the 90s.
Yeah, for sure. But but you had more. You had a fair share of good stuff.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking is, has hip hop journalism just followed hip hop? So the trend towards mumble rap and kind of shallowness, that the journalism has followed that as well. Do you believe that's fair?
I believe it's fair because as a journalist, you have to cover what's out there. You just can't ignore it. A journalist's worst fear is missing out on something, like FOMO, fear of missing out, right? But at the same time, I can't say that there's not, maybe in smaller doses, the same quality of work, the same devotion to making sure the story is correct and seeking out stories. It's just that there's just so many outlets, right? Like you mentioned Complex, got to mention Hip Hop Wired. XXL has a website. The Source still has a website. Vice.com. Even mainstream outlets like GQ or Vanity Fair are posting hip hop stuff.
So there's just so much competition.
Yeah, exactly. There's just so much competition that, whereas in the 90s, all the talent was either at The Source or XXL or Vibe. Now all that talent is spread out. So, I can't say there's no one outlet that has all the best writing talent.
Alvin and I, we worked together for maybe
4 or 5 years. 5 years.
5, 6 years. Yeah, 5, 6 years. I want to apologize for something on the show. There was an issue that came up. A venture capitalist that I knew over years, he had known DJ Vlad. And so the brother investor said, hey, you know, Hip Hop Wire put out a hit piece on DJ Vlad, and you shared an article about somebody else calling DJ Vlad a culture vulture, right? You know, I went through with that favor for that brother investor, where, you know, I guess he had a commercial relationship with DJ Vlad. DJ Vlad's like, hey, how do I get to Jamarlin and Hip Hop Wired?
Right.
Hey, I know him. Let me see if I can ask a favor, but I should not have done that. But I want to apologize to you on the show.
Accepted. Yeah. I understand the game.
How are you feeling after that? Tell us. Keep
honestly,
it real.
I mean, I was pissed. I was pissed. Because you know, I remember when you hired me, you said, you know, you harken back to the days of the source, keeping it 100, keeping it a buck, and you know, I was cognizant of the fact that you had is it fair to say you had some type of the site had some type of relationship with Vlad?
Yeah. No. I didn't have a personal relationship. I had a relationship with the investor, who was connected to Vlad.
Okay.
And so Vlad had reached out to this investor to get to me to ask for that favor.
Right. Okay. I mean, like dealing with a website that generates revenue, like I treaded thinly, knowing that, you know, we weren't like I mean, I was proud that we were independent, that we were black owned, but at the same time,
like that's not what we do. That's not what we're supposed to do.
Right. But at the same time, I don't want to be like the Hotep journalist that shoots themselves in the foot, you know, by not being aware of the political connects or whatever. So,
and
it
wasn't even you calling
exactly.
DJ
So another site called him a culture vulture, so we reported on that. Now, me personally, I've said that, you know, Vlad does culture vulture-ish all the time, you know.
For the record, make no mistake about it, DJ Vlad is a culture vulture. I don't care what many Illuminati people you get to come ask me for favors, but make no mistake, this guy fits the description of a culture vulture.
Yeah, 100%.
And so this came up maybe last year with Funkmaster Flex and Damon Dash. There was some stuff about Liar Cohen. Is Liar Cohen a culture vulture?
I mean, the way Dame Dash put it out there, yeah, the argument can be made. I wouldn't put him in the same tier as Vlad at the moment because, I don't know, maybe he's just been more deceptive with it, or, you know, he's basically not as bad as Vlad. But, I mean, especially with some of the stuff that Dame Dash is putting out about how, you know, he hasn't propped up any black executives. He's definitely propped up white executives, people that look like him.
Liar.
Right, Leo Cohen, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the argument can be made, you know.
What about Vice? Are they culture vultures?
Vice? Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, like, I haven't studied, like, Vice to know exactly, like, you know, what the makeup of their publishers are, or, you know, I'm not really up on their content like that just because I don't really tune into them like that. But from what I've seen, yeah.
What do you say to the establishment Negro who will say, hey, what DJ Vlad is doing, you could do too. Mm-hmm. You could start building out your own platform. Don't get mad at him because he sees an opportunity and he loves hip hop. Why fault the white man who's into hip hop for building a business where, you know, you could do it yourself?
Right. I mean, I think nobody's faulting Vlad's business acumen. I mean, honestly, like, the dude gets out there and gets money. Like, I remember he started slinging mixtapes.
You're just saying that he fits in that box as a culture. Right. I believe even the brother from Brand Nubian called him a culture.
Yeah, to his face. Right. Lil Jamar. Yeah. Like I said, like, he started with mixtapes. Mixtapes fell off. He started doing DVDs. Eventually got into videos, and, you know, he's been making a killing doing that. So business wise, it is what it is. But at the same time, that business, you know, is basically exploiting a lot of people. You know,
How
he's
so?
exploring. He's putting people on camera and taking, like, the worst most like just I'm trying to think of the proper word.
The
It's
most
just-
coonish. Is he promoting coonism or is that the charge? Because he has some.
It's like it depends. Like recently, he had an interview with Lil Boosie, and he's asking Boosie questions about like, yo, Boosie, why don't you have any children with white women? Like, why aren't you into white women? And your children are dark skinned. About it. It's like what does this have to do with whatever you're talking to Boosie about?
Yeah,
you know, it's like clearly just trying to get hits. And I mean, obviously that's part of the game, getting hits, but you're getting hits at the expense of
a community.
Yeah.
Didn't Rick Ross people slap him?
Yeah, they ran up. I think Ross had to pay up, so he definitely somebody put hands on him. Somebody put hands on him. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned something about Nas and Khalees on Twitter, and you know we're in the Me Too environment and movement,
right?
And so, why are brothers so soft on rape, sexual assault against women? Let me clarify that. So, just in terms of my own experience, that rape on women, sexual assault, harassment, there seems to be a feeling that you're less of a man if you're a defender of woman. You want to build her up. You want to protect her. And so it reminds me of it back in L.A. of a perverted sense of manhood where people wanted to gangbang, shoot each other, fight with each other. They were looking for validation of their manhood, but they're looking for it in a perverse way, in an American perverse way. And so when I hear some brothers talk about some of the abuse of women, they want to like really push back, right? They want to really push back.
Right.
And from my perspective, the strongest position as a man is to be a defender of women. Can you talk a little bit about how you reacted to kind of, you know, some of the allegations against Nas from Khalees?
Well, when I first heard it, I mean, to be perfectly honest, instinctively you want to say, you know, you got to hear both sides, right? But during this time, you know, it's when you look at the stats, that's almost wrong, because more times than not, when a woman accuses a man of assault or rape, I believe the stats say that more times than not, she's telling the truth. It's actually the opposite, where it's very unlikely that she's not telling the truth. And
you believe the default black man position?
The default, a lot of times, the default black man is like, wait, she's lying. All these black men have been accused falsely. You know, somebody say, oh, I know black people that were accused falsely. I don't want to, you know, propagate that. When in reality, the case is that more times than not, the woman is telling the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I got to that point just by educating myself, by falling back and listening.
Yeah.
A lot of these dudes that run out and kind of defend the wife beater haven't done that knowledge. They don't realize that they are part of rape culture by doing that.
One of our guests mentioned that when she finds men in general soft on the abuse of women,
right?
There's a strong chance that he's an abuser.
Yeah.
And so when I think about that, it's like, hey, many of us have fallen short in terms of how we have mistreated women or undermined women.
I said this recently online that a lot of times whenever a situation like this happens, where just in mainstream media or popular culture, a woman accuses a man of him sexually assaulting her, it kind of brings out the closet rapist, because you have guys that are like adamantly saying there's no way, I believe the dude, even though all the evidence is saying that she's telling the truth. These guys are still going super hard. You got to look back and think like, dude, why are you going so hard to defend this dude who really shouldn't be defended? You know, maybe it's because you see a lot of yourself in him.
I think a lot of cases where brothers, one of these boxes are checked. When you see a brother who's very soft on defending the black woman in particular, but women in general, is that they are an abuser. They have been an abuser.
Yeah.
they possibly have been abused themselves.
That's also a factor.
And then 3, their daddy was an abuser, or they had no real good role model in terms of teaching them how to treat and respect a woman. You're not harder raping or assaulting or being soft on women.
Yeah. So you see it even with dudes catcalling. It's like, dude, you know that's not going to work, but these dudes are still doing it. It's like, come on, grow up.
Do you see that part of the culture where folks are defending, are being soft on the abuse of women? Part of that is tribalism. Hey, I'm a man. I'm on the guy team. I'm inclined to defend my team. I'm not on their team over there. And so I'm pushing back and banging for my side as a man.
But like you said, I see that. Yeah, I definitely see that. But and also, as you said, this is their defense mechanism of the fact that they themselves are abusers. So let me, take that off of me by saying, oh no, I'm just looking out for the black person. I'm looking out for men in general. But really, just trying to defend yourself.
So, Khalees comes out and she says Nas has abused her. He was physically abusive. From your perspective, you don't need to hear from Nas in terms of your own kind of ways of looking at things.
I want to hear from Nas. That's why I was kind of disappointed that he waited so long to address it in a song, and I was disappointed that he didn't address it right away, because it's like, as journalists, you're aware of libel and what's the other one, slander. So if it's true. If it wasn't true, I'm thinking if it wasn't true, he could sue her, right? But I just didn't understand why he didn't come out right away and say and defend himself and say, I didn't do it. So because of that, it's like you kind of got to give him the side eye, like, okay, why didn't you say anything?
You're saying that you're not. Are you taking a side right away in terms of Khalees, I believe her, or are you saying, hey, I want to hear Nas too, and I'm mad that he's not coming out to clarify what's going on?
Yeah, honestly, cause I've been a Nas fan forever. You don't want one of your favorite rappers to be, known for putting hands on a woman.
Let's say he did. Let's say he did. So Nas slapped Khalees. Hey, they're partying.
This is theoretical. We're not saying that, right?
Yeah. Let's say, hey, he got mad and he abused her. From your perspective, how are you looking at Nas from that point? Meaning that you're obviously a fan.
Yeah.
A lot of us have done things that we're not proud of. But how do you look at Nas today?
I'd be disappointed. I can't respect it.
Do you stop being a fan?
Honestly, I definitely wouldn't support him anymore. I wouldn't buy his music. If the music came on, would I change the station? I'd have to see. Because you look at all the other, when you look at music in general, James Brown put hands on women. Have I stopped listening to James Brown?
Well, Michael Jackson. I guess what I'm struggling with is, when the Spotify issue was going crazy with Spotify saying they're going to take R. Kelly out of their recommendation algorithm because of their values. So they picked. Obviously, they're going to pick the black artist first. When they start doing policies, the black guy got to go first. Mm-hmm. And some of our people, to be fair, were calling for R. Kelly to be less promoted in the Spotify.
And I don't listen to R. Kelly.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't listen to R. Kelly. Yeah.
But my problem with a lot of folks is like saying, hey, this artist did this, this artist did that, did this artist did that. I'm not listening to that artist. Mm-hmm. Is that, to me, there's a massive amount of bias where they're picking and choosing which artists they're going to enforce the law on. So, for example, R. Kelly, he has a history of being accused for abusing women, being with young women. The consensus is that he's an abuser. However, what about Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson had court cases where repeatedly parents came against him for molesting children. That's fine if we're going to apply a moral law in terms of any artist who is an abuser of a human being in general. I'm not listening to them. But I believe like 80% of these people who are picking and choosing, they're banging Michael Jackson, and this guy was accused like 5-6 times of molesting kids.
Right. But
how do you reconcile that?
In Michael Jackson's case, weren't a lot of those accusations eventually like proven to be suspect, or like was anything? No,
nothing was proven. He settled, meaning he wanted those to go away. Obviously, you know, what do a lot of our leaders and executives do when they get in trouble? Michael Jackson's case, usually he's not black, but he turned black real quick when these accusations hit. Reverend Al Sharpton, he got him. He got Jesse Jackson. You know, when he got in trouble with Sony, he gets the black leaders and kind of, I'm banging black now. But like there's nothing proved that Michael Jackson never molested kids. What we know is that he settled cases.
Right.
And the facts say he was at a minimum exhibiting suspect behavior with kids.
I get that.
Meaning
he's
sleeping in the same bed.
Right.
So how can someone on one hand say that, hey, R. Kelly, this guy, you know, is an abuser. I'm not listening to R. Kelly. But then they're driving home in the car banging Michael Jackson.
Well, are people have levels. I mean, like I said, I'm one of those guys that still bang Michael Jackson. But when you look at R. Kelly and, you know, the settlements and the video, generally still acting a fool in public with that song that said "I'm sorry" or whatever it was called, where he kind of admitted to everything in song, you know, and just his outlandish, coonish behaviors. I have no problem asking R. Kelly from my personal life discography.
Yeah, I stopped listening I didn't stop listening to R. Kelly because of the Spotify and the protests. I just stopped liking his music. I had stopped listening to R. Kelly.
I mean, honestly, that's what it comes down to. Really, it's personal choice. You know, I mean, I give people the side eye that still bump R. Kelly just because, you know, of all the stuff that's come out, and I like with the stuff you mentioned, I understand if people seem the same way about Michael Jackson, but it all comes down to your personal decision.
Trump,
Cheeto.
Today it was announced that Kanye will be coming to the White House.
Yeah, Kanye's gone,
and they're going to talk about Chicago. They're going to talk about criminal justice reform, most likely Kim Kardashian branded criminal justice reform. What are your thoughts on the association between MAGA and Kanye?
Before I get to MAGA and Kanye, I mean, the whole meeting, lunch meeting they're having, it's all just a photo op for Donald Trump. He's not going to really take heed to what Kanye West has to say. No matter what Kanye West says, he's just going to trot him out, take a picture, immediately tweet about, you know, how Kanye understands him and how he lowered the unemployment rate for black people. You should vote for me. Now, as far as Kanye MAGA, I think he's misinformed. I think he's a troll. And I think if he really understood what that MAGA hat stood for and symbolized, considering where he comes from, considering his mother, who was a English department head, or
African American Studies.
African American Studies. Like, there's no way he would don that MAGA hat, but clearly he thinks differently for whatever reason, whether it's mental issues or just not being educated about these societal issues. He's chosen to be a troll.
Let's talk about that. There is a point of view, and I think I may have said this, is that as soon as he started wearing the MAGA hat and I saw some of the stuff he was saying, I was like, this guy's not well.
Yeah.
So, you know, hey, let's try to refrain. This brother is sick. Like many of our entertainers who go into Hollywood and go into these white, shallow environments, you may have an inclination in terms of bipolar or something like that. But when you go into those environments as a black man or a black woman, it's hard to get out in terms of all different types of, whether it's the values, drugs, just folks insanely, you know, they want the fame and the money, and next thing you know, the Chicago Kanye,
it's gone.
Who's that?
Right,
you know?
right.
Do you feel like he shouldn't be criticized because the brothers may be sick?
No, I don't think he shouldn't be criticized. I think that the asterisk should be placed there at all times. That hey, this guy might be, the reason one of the reasons he might be acting out this way is because of his mental illness.
Yeah, he says he's been diagnosed with bipolar.
Yeah, so, and he's even said, I'm being me. I've stopped taking my meds. I'm self-medicating. I adjusted the levels or whatever. And it's like, dude, you're not a doctor. Like, that's not your call to make. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So that asterisk should be there, but at the same time, I know plenty of people that might be dealing with bipolar disorder or any type of mental condition. That doesn't
mean they're banging. They're banging oppression.
Right, yeah. right, and they're not acting a fool for public consumption.
Where do you see this going with Kanye in terms of he's gaining white majority racist MAGA fans?
Right.
He's getting his name in the news.
And it's like they're not even his fans though. It's like as
soon as he says something on the black side,
if he suddenly says something woke even by accident, they'll turn on him in a dime. And he doesn't. And I'm sad to say he probably doesn't even realize that. And if anything, he should, because artists are usually like fans turn on artists quickly, so he should be aware of that.
Let's talk about that word he's woke. A hedge fund manager, Steve, I believe Asness, a billionaire, he's talking about being woke, and this is woke and this is not. The new CEO of Goldman Sachs, I guess he DJs on the side, and the media was saying he's a woke executive.
Clearly woke has been co-opted.
So woke has been taken over.
Right.
In many cases by folks who are the enemy of our people.
Yeah.
Would you get to the point where, hey, I'm starting to see this word abused and used? We may not be talking about the same thing.
Yeah. You got to be.
You're almost there. With that word.
You got to be mindful of it. Yeah, you always have to anything that we as black people of color that we put out there, as our own, and when suddenly the culture vultures start, leeching onto it, just got to be aware.
How disrespectful is it when, whether it's MAGA and Trump or other folks, when there's an important issue like criminal justice reform? They put a celebrity in front. They put Kim Kardashian in front. They put Kanye's coming to the White House to talk about criminal justice reform. Why don't the experts from the black community, why aren't our experts, our scholars, why aren't they allowed to talk? And so as a black man, even myself, I don't want to be let's say if the president really wants to talk about criminal justice reform, Jamarla Martin is unqualified to talk about that issue because we got so many people who are better and more knowledgeable. And so how much impact, negative impact, is created when white America picks comedians, rappers, clowns, not like everybody's but you know what I'm talking about.
They pick the most non-threatening Negro that they know won't really give them any pushback, right? Because like you mentioned comedians, there's plenty of comedians that like a D.L. Hughley, who I'm not 100%. I think he's done some stuff in the past I might not have rocked with, but clearly he's an intelligent guy who would, if he were to sit down with Trump, he would take him to task and put out ideas that would work to help black people. But there's no way that Trump would actually sit down with him because he knows that he has no desire to do that. So instead, we get Kanye West. But when you look at all, when you look at all the people in the nation, in the world, all the black people, intelligent black people, with something to say, with keen ideas, whether it's them being intellects, whether it's them being on the ground, knowing what the people need. There's so many people you could choose from that would be valid. That initially people might be like, "Yo, why is he even meeting with Trump?" Because the first instinct is like he doesn't really care what you have to say. But if it was somebody that we rock with, and Trump took the meeting, we'd be like, you know what? They're representing us. Instead, he's taking black people that don't represent us. Like it broke my heart when Jim Brown, met with him. And, back in the day, Jim Brown was like one of the wokest athletes out there. But now Jim Brown's saying that, hey, Trump's a good guy. It's like, come on, man. Yeah.
It's based on personal relationships.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's new because we know that Maya Angelou, Bob Johnson with BET, Magic Johnson, they all sided with Hillary Clinton over Obama. They may have loved Obama's politics, but part of it, I think, is just the relationships.
Yeah.
Forgot
about that. Yeah.
Because the relationship.
Yeah.
Where do you see Kanye going? Like, where does this end up? I have my theories.
Man, honestly, I hope. Just, I never want to see a black guy go out like horribly. So
what do you mean?
I did like
drugs,
drugged out in the grave. More times than not, if somebody commits suicide, they're probably bipolar because that's kind of like somebody in their right mind most times won't take their life, but somebody who's bipolar and might not be in their right mind, they're more likely to do that. So, I knock on wood, I hope that would never happen, but unless he's reeled back in, like
you think it's going in that direction.
It's going in that direction, yeah.
Like a lot of the Hollywood celebrities,
yeah,
where they just
Kurt
get out their mind. They're chasing fame, they're chasing money.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, you're dead.
Yeah. And when those things happen in the past, it will come out of nowhere. It's kind of like we're kind of seeing this spiral out of control.
If I believe Kanye comes back to life and finds his core again, my thinking is he's going to throw everything away. What he's going to do is all the Kardashian stuff and all that stuff. I think it's kind of like black or white, literally. I think it's like, hey, if he comes out of whatever he's in,
right,
he would be going through an identity crisis, and he has to throw all that stuff, all the Hollywood, Calabasas, all that stuff. He has to just throw that off, and he's gonna say, hey, this stuff, this environment, these people made me sick. Are they contributed to me sick? How did I get like this?
And people want that to happen. A lot of people wanted that when he went back to Chicago. I'm moving back to Chicago. He went on the Chicago radio station.
Are you talking about he's going to Africa?
Yeah,
but he sounds sick when he said it.
Then it eventually sounded just looking like a press run to try to make himself look better. Because then he went on the MAGA rant on SNL.
Then he deletes his Twitter. Man, he sounds like this guy's a madman.
Right. Yeah,
he's not stable. So let's talk about Jay-Z 444. And so you were in the A Genius Leaves the Hood documentary, the unauthorized story of Jay-Z that appeared on Netflix and TV One and did extremely well. Thanks for your contribution.
No problem.
Jay-Z evolving in terms of, hey, in the film, we talked about, some of the questions like, hey, what do you really believe? Beyond like, hey, you want to, get a big wallet, you want to be successful, but as it relates to your community, we don't know what you believe. We don't know what you believe in. Right. But then this new 444 Jay-Z, like to me, there's a lot of delta between A Genius Leaves the Hood and 444. Can you talk about what seems to be like a transition for him or a maturity for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the man growing up, Or I want to say growing up because he's been a grown man for a while.
You can get Coons going to like 60, 70.
Yeah. He's just maturing and his his worldview just evolving. He's a family man now. He's thinking about legacy. Obviously, he's been super successful, but now it's how could he even make that exponentially even more successful? And that's by making sure his family is good, or making sure his friends are on the right path, making sure his friends are flourishing as well. And I think that's seen in a guy like Biggs Burke, who at one point this guy was back in jail for dealing weed. Now he's doing fashion and being a consultant to a whole bunch of different brands. Or his best friend Emery Jones is doing a lot of stuff with Puma. I think
but he's
kind of like the what
I was going to say his lyrics were, as he's like, hey, if I really want to rap, you know, I would rap like Common or Talib Kweli.
Right.
But ever since I did so and so, I've been rapping like that ever since. Meaning like, hey, I got to go get paid.
Right.
And then now,
yeah,
I guess you can
now
say he got paid.
He got paid. He got
It's
paid. Like,
and
you know,
so but do you think this is a new consciousness, or did he have this in the back in the day? But hey, I got to go get this money first.
Yeah, I think it was always there. He just like you said, he had to go get the money first. Now he got it, and you know, a lot of his fans will see right through it too. It's like, yo, you can't give us the same thing. I know the running joke is, you know, Jay-Z's been doing the same album for years, but with these more recent albums, with 444, and even with the double out the joint album with Beyonce, it's shown that he always had that in the back of his mind. He always had that you know, I don't want to say woke, because, you know, woke was being co-opted, but he was always one of the wokest rappers out there.
How much of possibly the divergent directions of Kanye and Jay-Z could it just be explained in consciousness, or do you think it has nothing to do, most likely, with consciousness?
I mean, you don't have to be a celebrity to know that, you know, friends eventually drift apart. You know, you might be best friends for 4 or 5 years, and suddenly, you know, there's certain fractures where, you know, we're just not seeing eye to eye on stuff, or, you know, it's no love lost, but I can't rock with you. Yeah. You know, and even recently, John Legend was on MSNBC, and they were asking him about Kanye West, and he even said, like, you know, he never discussed politics with Kanye. Just Kanye just didn't talk about that. So he always found it strange. Even when Kanye said, you know, George Bush doesn't care about black people, John Legend was like, yo, they never discuss politics. So I think with Jay-Z, it's kind of like he was going one direction, Kanye was going a bunch of different directions. It's like, you know, Jay-Z knows that for his best interest, he probably shouldn't be around Kanye right now.
And Jay-Z is no doubt a great businessman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How much of his move to black, what I would call black, a clearer position than where he was at Genius Leads the Hood, like 2012, 13, where, hey, we don't know where you stand on a lot of this stuff.
Right.
How much of it could be a business decision? Meaning that Nike, like, we're moving towards cap because we think we can make an extra $3 billion.
Yeah, I think 95% of Nike's decision is probably business. I'm sure they ran the numbers.
They don't care about nobody.
Yeah, they ran the numbers and were like, yo, we roll a cap, we're gonna get paid. So yeah.
But how much do you think Jay-Z's moves since the Genius Leads the Hood is heart, in terms of heart for the people, and how much of that is business? If you had to, like, break it down in 100%.
No, with Jamal, I honestly think it could be like 50-50. I say that because, you know, it's like, okay, let's give out scholarships, right? He's giving kids like $100,000 scholarships, which is great. I'm sure he's gonna take the tax break on that, right? You know, so he's not gonna the natural hustler he is. He's just not gonna if there's a way for him to be taken care of financially through something, he's not gonna just leave it on the table, be like, oh, I'm just gonna let this money go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So yeah, nobody should just, you know, pass up on a bag out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah,
that just makes no sense.
Yeah, let's talk about brands, you know, looking at Nike. You know, as you know, brands are a lot like consumers. They look for a leader, somebody to take a chance. It works, then they go follow.
Right.
Do you see more brands doing a Nike or doing a Pepsi where, you know, hey, you know, everyone's talking about Black Lives Matter. Let's get Kendall Jenner. Let's put a little, you know, protest, and like, hey, they're going to start pimping kind of the the folks of goodwill who are in the streets battling with this beast and the establishment. So now they're going to be like, man, like a record company would invest in an X-Clan or a Public Enemy. Hey, I can make money off this.
Yeah.
Do you see more brands saying, hey, I'm trying to get with folks who are doing really good work for the people and passionate about the people? Let me try to bring my money in and partner with them.
Yeah, that's gonna come down to the people they partner with.
Yeah,
you know, like Kaepernick, like you know, I'm sure Nike paid him a nice chunk. He gave him a nice check for that. I personally think Kaepernick's going to do good things with it. He, even before Nike was technically in the equation, he was, you know, giving suits to men that were fresh out of jail, or giving to charities. So it just depends on the person. Like, if you already had, like if you were one of these ambulance chasing type of hoteps that were, you know, talking a good game about how you want to look out for your people, but really you're just padding your wallet, then you can't wait for the corporate people to come in and give you a check, you know. But if you're really in that life where you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart, and these corporate people could come in, and it's going to be a give and take, because, you know, anything's going to be a give and take. But if you could use it more to the benefit of your people, then it'll be a good thing. I don't see anything wrong with that.
People still say this till today, but they've been saying it for years. So that when they talk about the bad programming in hip hop impacting our people, the first thing they'll go to is, hey, you know, the white folks are programming this bad stuff about syrup and pills and death and just all the bad stuff. It's the white folks' fault. Okay, and so I have been skeptical of that point of view in terms of, I know that if certain stuff is profitable, Shabazz the Disciple, Public Enemy, X-Clan, if the conscious stuff is profitable for white folks, they will invest. They don't care.
They don't.
They don't care.
It's strictly a numbers game.
So rather than it being some big spooky conspiracy, this is folks trying to get paid with the lowest risk possible, and they're trying to make money. Whether it's conscious music, or is people talking about killing drugs and murdering each other. And so the blame has always been the white man on the perverseness in hip hop, the negativity in hip hop, the cultural death in hip hop. The blame has always been them.
Right.
Okay. So now, as you know, the record company has been kind of reduced, dialed back. Now people in the street, they can just put their music on SoundCloud. They can go upload through an intermediary directly to iTunes or Spotify. And so some folks, there is no record company. They're putting really bad stuff out, but they're going direct. So you see, who you going to blame now? So now that the record companies has been taken out the equation and the rappers are putting it into the systems, who is there to blame? There's nobody left to blame, right?
Yeah, but yourself, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the record companies dial back, but they're still have their tentacles in there some way.
For sure.
And if it's not the record company, it's the streaming service, or it's some shady player out there trying to maximize profit.
Yeah.
You know.
But how much of our rise has to do with reprogramming the culture? And obviously, music is a big component of that. And so, like, hey, we're not with the C. Dolores Tucker type of stuff, but we do realize that a lot of fathers are not in the home. And so the community is not strong, meaning the community is raising the children on a high level. So if a lot of our families and communities are broken, are weak, I believe the Lil Waynes, the Boosies, and these people become like a father.
They raise a lot of kids,
So instead of the son looking up to the father, they're looking up to rappers. And I've talked to like 30, 40-year-old men who talk about rappers like they are their father, like the reverence.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's like, man, the rapper is higher than Jesus. The rapper is higher than God. The rapper is higher than Allah. The rapper is higher than my father. I love the rapper. So how do we optimize the culture in terms of how we're kind of putting out stuff? Like what are the steps for that?
Where to begin? I think you first need to really try to make a dedicated push to really prop up the the rappers who are worthy of being role models. You know,
don't you think 444? I thought it was a
Yeah,
step. I'm like,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
this
like-
guy's talking about inheritance. This guy's talking about real
Yeah,
estate.
yeah,
This
that's-
guy's talking about not blowing your money at the club.
Right,
Like Jay-Z is doing the damn
right
thing.
versus a guy like a I don't know, like a Tiger or somebody like that. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all right, that's
So-
good. That's a good fun time, but
yeah.
like, you know,
Man, when
take it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And when I heard 444, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if the people are going to be reprogrammed,
right.
this is it right
Yeah,
here. This,
yeah.
You got we have to make home ownership, life expectancy, how to deal buying used cars instead of new cars, or how not to kind of get cheated in your auto finance. We got to make knowing about this stuff cool, and I think some folks are stepping out and making it cool.
Yeah. And definitely, I mean, there are definitely MCs out there now that like some of us are a J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar, guys that are you know, cognizant of their influence, and definitely put the right messages out there. And so, like, I'd rather a kid be, you know, want to say I want to be like J. Cole or a Kendrick Lamar or Jay-Z, and put them up there as an idol. Ideally, you know, it would be like a parent or somewhere in the community or somebody with a more realistic role model, but versus a rapper or athlete. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, as opposed to somebody like in business or a black venture capitalist or a black mogul. If that's not the case, then I'd rather be one of them.
A lot of the magazine editors did not make it to digital. They didn't scale over to digital.
Yeah.
You were able to go from old media to new media.
Right.
Why do you think you were able to do it and a lot of people weren't able to kind of jump over?
Right. I was fortunate in that when I was writing heavy for the magazines, like The Source or Vibe, their websites were coming up as well. And since I wasn't really established on the magazine side, breaking into the online side is what kind of helped usher me into the magazine side. So kind of went opposite.
Okay, so
that's
you
how I
started
became
digital
familiar.
kind of.
Right,
Yeah, okay,
right. Well, no,
okay.
I started. I got a couple of magazine clips. Then I found that a lot of work I would be able to get was on the online side because so many people were focused on writing for the magazine that the digital side was in need of writers. So that kind of made it easier for me to get in there. And because I became familiar in that online side, I got down with allhiphop.com. I was a music editor there. So I was still writing for magazines, but I was still heavy in digital at the same time. So yeah,
it sounds like you had an advantage at the right time.
Definitely,
because you didn't spend a lot of time on the magazine side, so you didn't come into digital with a lot of baggage. Like, hey, we're supposed to cover hip hop this way.
Yeah.
Hey, this stuff may need to be rethought.
Yeah. Like for example, like let's say XXL. I was writing for XXL. I'd write like a profile on Papoose. And then the rest of the magazine be like maybe a feature on 50 Cent, a feature on who's popping at that time. Let's say like Lloyd Banks or Rick Ross or whoever. So the magazine would come out with these features. We'd have those same features maybe in a week on allhiphop.com. Same information that was in the magazine, maybe more stuff because we had Q&As heavy. So I saw that like, you know, this monthly issue took like 30 days. Versus where we were throwing up stories, speak to the rapper on Monday, have the feature story up the next day. So a lot of magazine guys, they will come to the edit to the online side and be like, yo, new story, got to get this up. And like 2 days later, 3 days later, yo, man, that's late. You still write, you still transcribing. Like you gotta speed it up, you know?
For our audience, what's an average day? I know it's like, hey, it changes, but what's your average day?
Average day during the week is just getting up early, seeing what's trending. I'll see Google Trends. I'll see what's trending on Twitter. Check my email to see if I got any press releases, and just start writing, clocking out, knocking out stories.
Do you get leads from the users, the fans?
Yeah. You just get your leads. Definitely on social media, you'll get leads. I'll troll like a shade room, see what they threw up.
Yeah,
that's definitely a good way to get news. Just got to be open to all types of sources. Yeah, and that's how you get the best stories.
What was your most memorable interview over the years? I remember you brought over Fat Joe. I had a chance to meet him. But what interviews stood out over the years?
Stood out with us. I had a good interview with Q-Tip.
What is he doing now?
He's working with Anderson .Paak. He's posted a picture. Anderson .Paak posted a picture of him and Q-Tip and Dr. Dre.
Who's that?
Anderson .Paak?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an R&B dude. Has a couple of albums out. Malibu is one. He signed to Aftermath for Dr. Dre. Super talented cat, unique voice. Yeah, you'll hear a lot more about Anderson .Paak in the future. But Q-Tip was just they say don't meet your heroes because they'll let you down. Q-Tip. As far as when I was talking to him about music, and he had like a Biggie impersonation that was.
Did
dope.
he come to the New York office or?
Actually, this is before Hip Hop Wired.
Okay,
so it was actually a video interview, and the videographer messed up, and I didn't even get the video, but luckily I recorded it, so it ended up being just an editorial interview. As far as Hip Hop Wired, Raekwon was a good one, just because.
Did you do that?
Clan,
you did that in New York?
Yeah, did that in New York. Yeah, he came through the office. Another dude that's like a hip hop legend, but is just still a humble dude.
One of the things I was thinking about a couple of months ago, I was like, I remember I used to listen to Poor Righteous Teachers, and I feel like this generation does not know. It hasn't been documented well the influence of the 5%.
Oh yeah,
of the 5%ers in hip hop, like how entrenched, that influence is.
Yeah,
I've been
listening to old records now, and it'll be like a 5% reference that I get now that I didn't get back then. I was like, oh wow, that's
it's like
85.
I feel like this generation doesn't have to be 5%er, 5% teaching, but this generation doesn't have that injection. Like that 5%er, man, like everybody's talking about that.
Right,
Nas, AZ, Wu-Tang.
And it's kind of like
you get
like even if you weren't down with the 5% Nation and just respected them, it's like naturally you wouldn't be a savage on the record because the whole thing is like civilizing the uncivilized. It kind of puts you in a righteous lane automatically because if you weren't, then they come find you.
No, but it goes back to our point that during this time of AZ, Nas, Wu-Tang, even Capone and Noriega, Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, you weren't cool if you don't know about the 5% teaching. 5% teaching, that's like, oh man, look at this guy's knowledge.
Right. Zulu Nation too. If you weren't down to Zulu Nation, it's like, or at least respected the Zulu Nation and their principles, then you weren't cool.
Jay-Z still has a lot of runway left, but how would you describe his legacy in terms of what legacy will he leave on the culture and the people?
I think he'll when all said and done, he'll be the #1 rapper.
Yeah,
like the greatest rapper of all time. Unfortunately, Biggie and Pac got taken away from us too soon. So, as far as length of his catalog, the time he's been great for so long.
Like you're looking at a lot of metrics, not just who has the best lyrics.
Right. Lyrics, influence on the culture, influence on society, influence on the globe. He's gonna be the #1 guy. He's gonna be the guy that any rapper who wants to go beyond just being a rapper that wants to become like an icon, a world icon, they're gonna have to attempt to hit all the points that Jay-Z's hitting.
I think more than anybody else in hip hop is that he brought the A game on the lyrical content side. But I think where he's gonna end up is I brought the A game on the business side, and I brought the A game at the end on the lifting up the people side. Hey, it may have taken me some time to get here, but I got there. I think across those fronts, he's going to be looked at as a certified hero.
I think like the trajectory of his life is a college course.
It's
ups and downs. It's life lessons. It's I think it's a beautiful thing because I mean we all know guys that were smart beyond their years, but through certain circumstances, they didn't get to the right school or they just got in the wrong circles or they just made certain poor decisions.
Yeah, that's an important point. Like how many other Jay-Z's are out there where, hey, this brother may have been out there on the street selling drugs, but if you pull that man or woman outside of that environment, they can bang with the best in the world at business.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, he's made some mistakes, but clearly he's, for every misstep, he not only learned from it, but he, leapfrog past it, because what was it? I think he gets flack for the Samsung deal. Yeah. That might not have worked out ideally. I mean, he got a big check out of it. But then dude starts Tidal. Same thing, he got flack for Tidal. Then suddenly, there's Apple Music. Suddenly Spotify has to step up their game. And there's Amazon Music now. But a lot of people forget that it was Jay-Z that was like, streaming is a thing. But a lot more than a lot of people want to admit thought he was crazy for starting a streaming service. I have a press subscription.
Okay, nice. Yeah. All right, I want to thank Alvin for coming on the show.
Thank you for
Where
having
can
me.
people check you out on Twitter and online?
On Twitter, I'm at Aqua174, AQUA174. Instagram is Alvin Blanco. Facebook.com/AquaBoogie. And, of course, hiphopwire.com on a daily basis.
All right, make sure you check out the OG Alvin online. Let's go. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Go. You can check me out at Jamarlin Martin on Twitter, and also come check us out at Moguldom.com. That's MOGULDOM.com. Be sure to subscribe to our daily newsletter. You can get the latest information on crypto, tech, economic empowerment, and politics. Let's go.